stop right there and take a break, okay? More when Brother Pratt when we come back. Back here on the congregation field, so we have Brother Pratt on the minutes and 3 more seconds. After you get to this Brother Pratt, you can swim the English Channel, no problem, okay? You can backstroke even, I'm sure. Let's go back to your time at the dealership, and I see on the card it says here that the dealership used to do promotions, and one of those promotions was to have live animals. And there was a live lion cub in front of the showroom, and Charles happened to crawl into it. Do you remember this?
As I mentioned earlier, we were in constant danger. Yes, there was a cage with a lion cub in it, and my brother wanted to get in. So people opened the cage. Everyone thought my brother would never get in, but he crawled right in. And he was little. He was like 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old. He crawled right in, and he and the lion cub had a great time. It was fine.
Were the people horrified?
They were sort of amused by it, you know.
What's danger when it comes to entertainment? I mean,
This is Indiana. There was very little to do, you know, for entertainment.
well, obviously he survived that and he's safe, and he's not here today, but maybe one day he'll be on the show. So your mom was a typical farm wife. She worked long hours and everything like that. Then she got a job as a secretary at International Harvester. How did she have training to be secretary when being a farm?
She was the oldest of, she was the second oldest of 6 children, and she actually wanted to go to college to be a grade school teacher, but her father wouldn't pay for that, but he said he would pay to send her to business college. So she actually had some kind of, you know, degree or certificate to do that work, and did it for about, I think about probably 15 years.
15 years?
Something like that, yeah.
So, so you found yourself in the house alone, or you always with your dad on the farm?
Well, no. Well, what happened was my mother's mother died when her youngest sister was only 9 years old. So my mother and father took that girl into their home and raised her. So they had no children of their own for 9 years. So my mother was raising her and working. And then, for the first 6 years of my life, my mother worked, but my Aunt Pat actually kept us.
Were you named for her?
Our family is full of Pats. That's, you know, sort of like there was a dearth of names or something. Lots of people. I'm actually named for my grandfather.
Patrick.
Well, that's a long story. No.
I always touch on these controversial, you know, subjects. Like, who would think the name Patrick would be controversy? But
my grandfather was one of 8 children, and he was actually part Miami Indian. And his mother named all of the children one name, and the father named all the children another name. So everyone thought that the father's name was their name. So like on my grandfather's checkbook, it actually said Pat Baumgartner, and on his work shirts it said Pat. But his real name, given by his mother, which is on his birth certificate, is Charles. So I'm named, so he said to my mother, you can call her anything you want, but I'm calling her Patty after himself. So my mother decided she didn't want that to happen to her children. So I got the name Pat. And then, of course, when my brother came along, he got the name Charles. So there's no one in our family who isn't named after my grandfather.
that's a beautiful thing, I think. And these days, you know,
if you're the patriarch, I guess it's